Okay.
So one thing that is interesting about you is that you've become an art therapist, correct?
I did a diploma in art therapy. I'm not doing it currently, but I
Right.
did do the training, and it kind of entered into lockdown, so we had to do all the therapy sessions on Zoom and a lot of the coursework, and it became, yeah, something completely different, but it was absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, and it's
I've always,
something I'm not overly familiar with, but I'm interested to get your take on it as someone who has an artistic practice and then also understands the benefit of artistic therapy. I wonder
yeah,
if you could like make the case for it because sometimes I think people think it's a bit waffy.
well, exactly, and I don't think I ever thought of it. I think the way I viewed, or what I thought art therapy was you sit down and you just do a painting, like it's, or it's, I don't know, I didn't think that much of it. I didn't really understand it until I did the course. Um, and I had actually, the reason I got interested in, I've always been interested in therapy and, psychology and human behavior and face reading and all kinds of like things like that. So it's sort of been on the radar. But I was at the Turner Contemporary in Margate, and there was a exhibition of prison art, and I just found it absolutely fascinating to think what was going on in these people's heads and the sort of wide range of work that was there. And I thought, oh, I'd absolutely love to work in a prison and like,
Hmm.
be an art teacher there or something. And that got me looking into therapy and art therapy courses in London. And that's when I started. I just chose to do the diploma. And there were elements of it that were very uncomfortable for me. I'm not into dancing, theatre, um, the elements that you would describe, or thought about.
Improvised comedy. Hey,
Exactly.
Martha,
Yeah. Let's
turn your
just
rage into a chicken.
let's talk to a puppet, and I just was like, oh my god, I'm so out of my skin. Don't want to be here. And it was a real push to make me do that. I hate talking in public. I hate, um, there's so many things that I found very uncomfortable, but I guess that also helps you grow. But it did have, like, basically the coursework, the books. There was endless books by my bed, like stacks and stacks of books that we had to read. And that I found absolutely fascinating. There was so much I learned, and you had to have quite a lot of therapy during it, as you would do training to be a therapist. You have however many hours you have to have completed, and I learned so much about myself, and I think, I don't know, I used to be like more of a painter. I mean, that would be my medium until I moved into stitch. And I think, I don't know, the amount I created in the past like 4 years, I sort of just got completely consumed by it. And I realized that I think without realizing it's a type of therapy and you completely get lost in it. And I just now, I kind of find myself needing to do it wherever. Like I'll be away on holiday and I'm like, yes, but I need to, what can I make? What can I get into? What can I stitch and stuff? Um, and I suppose it also helped me in the situation that I was in at the time, in quite a bad relationship, um, to realise things weren't right and that isn't the norm, and to get out basically. And that was a real, like, it kind of could change my life, the whole course, literally, and everything. So yeah, fascinating.
I think it sounds quite healthy that if something happens, you want to process it straight away because that to me suggests like I'll cry at stuff on the telly, don't
Yeah,
know, Great British Bake Off final, any episode of
yeah,
RuPaul's Drag Race, and I feel like that's emotionally healthy now because I'm not keeping
yeah,
anything in, and I guess it's the same thing, isn't it? You've processed a lot through
yeah,
the craft, and so now it's a nice throughput.
yeah, definitely. It's also a way of getting. I mean, I've always been a massive overthinker, worrier, worrying like what, like I go over and over and over things, and to sit, which many people have said about embroidery, or weaving or anything in that world, is it is such a meditative process, and you just
Mm.
sit, you get lost in it, you're literally focused on stitch after stitch after stitch, and I think doing that has really helped me, like, calm my mind down at times. And um, it's also great for like journeys or killing time or whatever, like you just, instead of staring at your phone all the time like we do now, it's a way of just getting lost in something. So
Did you did you have many clients as a therapist?
I didn't. I wasn't. I did the course. I didn't do the.
Right, right, right. Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't become a therapist. At the
yeah,
time, it was going to cost like 100 grand or something stupid to. No, I think it was about 80. It was a huge amount of money basically to be fully qualified as an art therapist, and a lot of people on my course just said they wouldn't be able to, including me. I just was like, this is not something that, because you also have to basically give up work because your course goes from like a part time to pretty much full time, and you're paying for therapy, and you're paying for the course, and all this money, which is such a shame because especially during lockdown and after lockdown, because it was art child therapy that I did, there was so much need for therapy, especially for children, especially in that environment that we all got put in lockdown, and it was just such a shame that it became such an expensive thing to train in.
mm.
That's such a shame that that sort of stopped a lot of people. So yeah, I didn't actually go into being a therapist, but
It
it
does
has
sound a
helped.
bit. It sounds a bit like one of those multi-level marketing schemes, though, doesn't it? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, you're like,
You
how is
test
this
the
going to work?
product,
Yeah, yeah.
and then they get you. But I like that. So I have a pretty strong thesis about the meditative power of cross stitch. And when you meditate, the point is when your mind wanders, you're meant to come back to center. And so when
Yeah,
it comes to stitching stuff, you're coming back to center at least once a second because you're looking where you're putting the needle. So in that
yeah.
moment, there is that direct connection.
Mm.
And, I was saying before, like I haven't cross stitched something in ages, but I was listening to a podcast the other day where someone was saying about they used to do a daily meditation only for 15 minutes. And I was like, do you know what? Maybe I should just do a little bit of daily cross stitch for 15 minutes because
Mm.
it'll do that meditation thing. It'll give me that little in. But then I was thinking about what you said about, your discomfort with, don't know, jazz dance as a form of therapy or whatever. Like
Yeah.
I would maintain that one of the secret sources about embroidery and textiles is the slowness and how that's really important. But I do wonder whether some people are just going to be better. Some people, the therapy is going to be improv comedy or, I don't know, smashing shit up and then turning it into a mosaic or something. I don't, like whether it's horses
Mm.
for courses or whether actually the slow meditative is the best practice. I just wonder if you've got an
Well,
opinion.
well, one of the things you learn on the course in the art therapy was, because there were was it 4 or 5 different types. So there's clay, puppets, there's poetry, there's I don't know, like a lot of different kind of mediums that you can use to, if you're working with a client. And it became obvious that you have to be very careful with what you choose to, in kind of what their issue was. Like, so you wouldn't use clay, for example, with like sexual abuse, because that can often, like the kind of tactile nature of that, and what it kind of brings out, and feelings and stuff. There's certain things that are like no nos, and I found that quite fascinating. With, like you say, it could be one person therapy could be fascinating and brilliant for them. Another thing could be completely, traumatizing for someone, or it's like it all depends on the individual. So
Mm.
yeah, that, someone might have quite, someone might find it absolutely brilliant doing interpretive dance, and someone might just want to be completely silent in a corner making something. But
Yeah, I mean, I guess with a lot of practices, dance, sport, and stuff, there's still that in the moment, isn't it? The in the moment
yeah,
still remaining like the thing that underpins it all. So I suppose maybe, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's the thing. It doesn't like there's many paths to God. I guess there's many paths to being in the moment or whatever, and it
mm,
is whatever kind of works. But can you remember then the first time? Because I mean, you've been crafty like your whole life, off and on, haven't you? Really. So,
yeah,
but then, like looking back to your Insta, may not be the single point of truth on everything, but it seems like you
yeah.
started doing rugs as the sort of stitchy thing.
Well, no, that was, I started embroidery first. So So basically, going all the way, I mean, my whole life grown up with artistic family and,
Mm.
kind of been in that world since I was little, always drawing, always, drawing like diaries when we were on holiday and sort of that was just what I used with, constantly making. I went to St Martin's, did my degree in fine art there, and that was when
Mm.
I kind of came out as like painting mainly. Probably, I mean, like way before the Instagram. So this is probably
Back
why
in the good old days,
back
you
in
just
the
do what
old
you like.
technology.
Uh,
And then it was years and years ago that I had a therapy session. I had actually hypnotherapy at one point, and it was to do with like some fears and things that I had. And I remember him telling me or talking to me about what I don't know, got talking about the art, and he said, "You light up when you talk about art. Why, like, why don't you do more of this?" And because I'd had a long period where I wasn't doing it, and then I was talking about things not being mobile, like, well, I can't do it because I'll need this and I'll need that. And he said, okay, it was something about doing something, like you said, 15 minutes a day. Just
mm.
do something small, 15 minutes a day, something creative, and see how it makes you feel. So I got threads, and I was doing like, I was making little silly, like nothing in particular, but like
Mm.
just the act of it. And then I just didn't stop from there. And I, I was basically doing embroidery as threads, as I would with painting. So now I have palettes of threads, and I just use it. It's not a cross stitch. It's not a type of embroidery technique. It's literally just like in and out, and it's like I'm using it as a paint. So then that became my thing, and I was basically embroidering for a long time, and then I got frustrated with like how long it took to do things, and people thinking something small is just, oh, will you just do me something small, or oh, I just want a little thing like this, and they don't realise it takes you like 5 days because it's so tiny. Um, and then I discovered the tufting gun probably in like lockdown.
Mm.
It was before that, something like that. And I thought, great, this is a way of like scaling up. I can do these pieces a lot quicker. Little did I know that obviously it still was quite a lot of work goes into doing those. But yeah, I did a large scale, and now I've kind of gone a 180, and I'm doing some pieces that are using the tufting gun that's like a raised woven section. Then the flat section is hand painted, and then I do the embroideries as like little appliques that I put on at the end, and then that gives me all the elements of like real like tiny detail and
Mm.
layered up.
Kind of like a textile collage or something.
Yeah, and that came about because I did a commission for a restaurant in Queens Park called Don't Tell Dad, and it was a six-seater table that they wanted embroidered that people would put glass on, and then people would eat on the table.
Mm.
So they had 3 weeks till they were opening the restaurant, and I was like, oh, a six-seater table with like fully embroidered, that's never going to happen. And we were like working out ways that we could kind of mix it all up, and that's sort of how that came about. And since then, that's been quite a regular, popular piece.
Do you enjoy switching between the media? Does that keep things
Yeah,
fresh?
yeah. I think one of the things that there's always so much going on. Like I've got tufted things, I've got painted things, I've got hand like latch hook, big hairy portraits. I've got like painting still, and going back to all of that. I think I just need to keep. I always thought, oh well, to be respected or whatever, you have to be recognizable for what you do in one form. Like all I do is stitch plates, or all I do is this thing, and then that's that's what you have to have as an identity. But I actually just love the mixture of everything, being able to maybe see something completely different and learn how to make. I've taught myself all of this, and it's like I'll see something, want to know how to make it, how can I achieve that, and then I learn it, and then I perfect it. And so yeah, I think it's important to have all these different elements. So,
You do seem to be a bit of a, it's not the right word, but like an omni threat. Or like some people are like triple threats or whatever, but you're more than that because I see you've got different media, and then within those different media, it feels like you do different types of storytelling as well. And
Yeah.
then there's a whole thing about the back of the work, and you do these pieces. I wrote down in my notes. I wrote uh, the back of the work, pink sex stuff. I was like, I couldn't really categorize it any better than that,
Yeah.
but it does, because when I was looking back through your work, it felt for a while, and this I've seen this happen, and I'm always interested in this. Is the medium coincides with like the creative stream? So I remember talking to Marcia Bennett Mail, who did um, textile portraits, but then also did sculpture out of stone. And I was
Oh,
interested in like do the
fascinating.
works, but they don't. I don't think with her. I think there's a certain vocabulary she's using with the
Yeah.
stonework, and then the portraits are something else, and you just cross between them. But you can't be pigeonholed quite as easy as that. Slightly annoyingly.
Yeah, I guess there's also it's like elements of again feeling like now I'm feeling I'm more and more myself, and I'm bringing out the humor again, which is me. Like I need humor in my life, but I've always again thought, oh, you have to be really serious, or it has to be like a really beautiful image that people would,
Mm.
respect in a way. But actually, the humor in things I think needs to come out more. So I'm sort of it ekes out in different areas of my life. Um, yeah, it is funny because I've actually got a someone who's collected quite a few pieces of mine, and he messaged the other day and said, my kids don't like the fact that there's two of you basically naked in the hallway, and it's like a giant rug that I've got. It's not naked, but it's like semi-naked,
Mm.
and it's like in a jungle. And his kid had said something like, "Well, one of them's happier than the other one, and it's because her top's too short and she's lost in a jungle or something." And I just thought, I love how these kids. He's like, I love this sexy print, or this like reverse stitched lady on all fours, but I don't know where I can hang it because my kids are, So
That's
yeah,
a
there
pretty
was a
good one.
series of someone else called it Sexy Stitch.
That would skew differently on the old algorithms, wouldn't it? Slightly if you started using that, I think. But there
Okay.
is that. I mean, there's definite playfulness. I think playfulness is a good word to use for a lot of your
Yeah,
stuff because you've
that
done like childlike pictures as well, haven't you?
yeah. Again, that's to do with like how lovely the naivety in children's drawings are. That we don't have to. It doesn't all have to be perfect. It doesn't all have to be. It's literally. It's so much more freeing. And I did it because a friend had like some crumpled you know how you get like the kids' drawings that you've got attached to the
Fridge.
fridge, and
Yeah.
it's just like some old poster paints. And I thought, well, she's quite a proud interior person, and so I hand stitched one of her kids' drawings on linen, and just thought it was a nice way of like saving it. And then I did the giant tufting wall hanging, which is a kid like, well, just done with my left hand, but kids drawing with my other house is mid-century because I'm obsessed with finding a wooden mid-century house somewhere, even though they all seem to be in deepest America somewhere. Um, but yeah, also when I was at school, my teachers used to sort of get frustrated with how detailed I was. I was so tiny in detail, like everything had to be just tiny detailed drawings, and they were like, just try and like loosen up and free, get bigger. And it's funny to see now because I think that reflects in how detailed I get with my embroideries because I split my threads into six. So
Mm.
each thread is like the size of a hair. And
Mm.
then I embroider that into portrait so that you can get like the dot in an eye, but it's like the size of a needle. It's so, I don't know why, but for some reason I've gone really, really tiny. And I've just basically gone back to what they said don't do. It's just like, yeah, no, I don't want to. I want to get really, really tiny and constrained. But then, yeah, also having the scale of doing large pieces.
Is that the trade off? Like you're pursuing the art of the craft, tiny threads and all those kind of things is just like you make it increasingly difficult for yourself because maybe the production
Yeah,
process is part of the challenge. Maybe because you might you might be quite emotionally healthy now, so maybe the content isn't as challenging as it used to be. So you're like, right, I'll just ratchet up the tension in another direction.
Yeah, yeah, I do like a challenge. Yeah, maybe it's that it's seeing like how far I can push myself in certain ways. I now wear glasses, which I never used to have to wear. I've like killed my eyes by going so detailed and stitching with the
There's
same.
no shame in a magnifying light, honestly. Daylight Company got a very good range. You might be amazed at
Yeah,
what you're
exactly.
capable of. But no, but I think it's interesting because as well you can dwell in that precision, and some of the portraits that you've made that are almost they made with like French knots. They're like ridiculously small pieces of stitching, aren't they? I'm thinking of that one where you've got quite a lot of negative space as well in the piece.
Oh yeah, that's a large piece, but that is using wool instead of
Right.
threads. And yeah, that's one dot stitched at a time. So they're like little spots of yarn, and then when you kind of come back, it's um, yeah, it's a portrait.
And you
Amazing.
give yourself permission to do that, and then you also give yourself permission to do like massive floppy rug face guy.
Yeah, and that I because one of the things I absolutely love is, and I've used obviously in the Sexy Stitch series, but is the reverse when I've finished a portrait and or whatever I'm doing and I turn it over and you've got the messy threads and the knots and the chaos behind and you see it's got so much more depth to it. I don't know. I find that kind of gorgeous, but I wouldn't want to have that displayed as the only thing because equally the front is like the immaculate detail. It's just like mm, I don't know which one I prefer. But if I'm doing like a line drawing and it's in stitch, I will use the reverse side because I think that's far more interesting. And you never know what it's going to come out like. So where I drag across to stitch another part of the like where the knee is, and then I'll go over to a shoulder without realizing I've created like a geometric shape at the back. So I find that quite interesting to see like how it's going to come out. And when I did the large hairy face using Latch Hook, I kind of wanted that element of messiness, like you're kind of blurring the identity of it. It's not perfect detail. It's just this big messy face. However, I didn't realize doing it that it would come out quite so like eerily, like the eyes are quite alive. I didn't think. I kind of thought it would be a bit more abstract than it came out,
Mm.
which was quite interesting. But yeah, that was just again stitch after stitch, but with little snippets of thread of wool.
Because the back of the work, that's a testy subject for most needleworkers, isn't it? And obviously, you do get those forms of embroidery, like shadow embroidery, where the craft is making the back as tidy as the front so that it can be viewed, or maybe it's on
That
opaque material.
I can't get my head around that. When I see it, it's absolutely fascinating. I don't know how
But
they do that.
but that's like really the only example I think. As craftspeople, I guess everyone wants to make their work a bit nicer. But this
Yeah,
whole like old lady's tale of, the back must be as tidy as the front. I've seen people just actively put off doing anything by being afraid of that phrase. Was there
yeah.
a point when you accepted it, or just from the start were you always like, oh, the back's just as cool and you were brave enough to show it?
Yeah, I think there was a time where I would be like, oh God, I better like frame it or put it in something that no one like buying it would see what the mess looks like at the back. And I would think that was because I did it wrong. Or I remember people who did know what they were doing and I was just teaching myself they would kind of be fascinated by it. And I'd think, oh, don't look at how badly I've done the back. I don't really know what I'm doing. But yeah, I think I just started to love the backs, how they, I don't know. Sometimes when I go between the eyes, and then it becomes like almost like a scratched out, like a drawn out a line across the eyes at the back. It just seems more interesting. It's also like so unconscious. Like, do I mean unconscious? Like I'm not purposely putting the threads anywhere. I don't know what I'm doing at the back because
Yeah,
I'm
it's
so silly.
unintentional, isn't it? Yeah.
Unintentional, yeah.
Mm.
So that I find quite interesting, like how that's formed.
So does the man in the background. There's a Diane Mayer is a cross stitch artist who stitches on photos. She takes photos, for instance, of I've interviewed her. I should be able to go needle exchanges episode so and so and such and such. But
Yeah, yeah. I'll look it up.
but like she'd stitch, for instance, pictures of the Berlin Wall, and she would use cross stitch to disappear the wall. Right, so she'd take a photo, she'd cross stitch over a space and perhaps stitch what was behind it, but in a pixelated format. Right, so the process in and of itself is pretty gangster because she's stitching on a photograph, she's getting the color and the pixelation so that you can understand what's going on behind. And I exhibited her work once at this thing with the National Trust, and what was badass was the fact that she had glass on the back and all the threads just hung. She didn't even tie them off or anything. So you looked at the back of her work and it was like this waterfall just of all these threads coming out. I was like, oh my God. I was like, that's really brave. You know, we tried to do one where you could have a look at both sides just so that we could make old ladies faint. Maybe put some cushions on the floor to protect them from the shock of it all or something.
Yeah.
It's like, it's fascinating. One of the thoughts I had looking at yours, particularly the pink pieces. So how many pink pieces are there? The naughty ones, should we say?
Oh, there were two to start off with, which weirdly, I did those before I did any embroidery, like years and years and years and years and years ago. And
Right.
it was like, oh, I wonder what I'll just, instead of doing a line drawing, I'm just going to stitch literally a line on this canvas. So I painted the canvas in pink gloss. And it was kind of around the time I think I was fascinated with like Agent Vocateur. I love the pink and black. And I did those, and I had a series of them in a shop in Islington, and they all sold. And I was like, oh, well, they're really popular. And I'd completely forgotten that I'd done them. And I was clearing out something, and I found one. And so I started doing some more recently. And it's fascinating that I've spent months on pieces that I'm so engrossed in, and yet people love the things that take like a lot. You know, oh, it's a line drawing, but oh, I love that one. You know, you just you never know. But I think there is that, I don't know, like female form. It's a nice subject to do. I guess I've now done a series where I've just photographed myself in weird positions and doing things, or like undressing, because I think the shapes of the body when you're pulling something over your head, or you know, like that kind of side of thing. And then stitched stitched a series, and then I recently did Bon Appetit, where it's a cross stitched tea towel that says Bon Appetit, and I've done the woman on all fours because I thought that would be funny.
That's it. Honestly, my entire career was started with the thought of I thought that would be funny. So that was
Yeah,
always a quite good way to go about it.
quite like that. Quite like the idea. So yeah.
So the line drawing, the front side, if you like, is that a fairly faithful rendition of the image? Then does that look like what it's intended?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
the line drawing, yeah,
But then you deliberately show the back. And
yeah,
what I like about that is there's like this like our outer appearance and our inner thoughts. Like it feels like the dirty, naughty, twisty, turny bit of it is almost like this representation of the dark inside of us or something, you know.
yeah. And yet you put on a perfect, you know, like a presentable persona on the other side, like the side that's like the correct side, how you should appear, how you should, you know,
And I
show
think the
up.
squirreliness of the back of it kind of adds to that tension, right? Because in some ways, if you just showed a picture of a woman on all fours and you just did a line drawing of it, it's like that's fine, but it's kind of been
Yeah,
done. It's a little bit played
yeah,
out, isn't it?
yeah, exactly. And also there was, without intending, there was, you know, again where it's connected at the back sometimes, where I haven't realised because I'm just focusing on what I'm stitching, and it almost looks tied up, and then it's this whole like, you know, bound restraint sort of, you know.
Do you ever do that thing where you go, yes, and that was completely the intention. I was, you know, like when you
Yeah,
accidentally do something. I once did a thing. It was an exhibition to do with aprons, and they were on display at a place in Cardiff. Jesus, I wish I could remember the details right. But for some reason, they invited me to do one of these aprons. Lots of other people doing them, genuine talents. And the only thing I could think of was I thought I'll just do an X and I'll make it look like it's been cut. So it kind of looked like sort of bloody. So it was almost like someone just slashed
yeah,
this thing and the blood was running out. And I was like, that's fine. And I got it stitched. But then what happened was because it was an apron that went around your waist And because I'd done
Oh
this like
no.
blood red X in the middle of it, it turned out that I was making a deep statement about
Yeah. Male
domesticity
must.
and the female, how
Yeah.
women are unconsciously abused by the societal diaspora around them. And I was like,
Yeah.
absolutely. I was like 100%. I just went, oh my
Totally.
God. They were like, that's a really interesting comment. I went, I'm glad you think so because I was not planning that. So,
Exactly. It's like bring me back to St Martin's crits where they'd be like, why would you have created this? And then you have to like come up with some big. Well, the story behind it is I hated all of that. I'm never the conceptual artist. That's what they loved at the time, and I just painstakingly, paint pixelated portraits or like each square, and they'd be like, oh God, Martha's just spent 3 months painting this, and we want her to like challenge herself and.
and now
And
you're
then
just like,
the person next to you would put like a mug on a table and go, "It speaks for itself," and that's what they've done for the first month. And you're like, "What? You haven't made anything. You haven't given." Yeah,
yeah, it does. Yeah, I guess it's quite nice to reflect back on that, and particularly now you're doing things that are just for fun. You just did a thing because you thought
yeah,
it was funny or whatever. That
yeah.
must feel much more natural.
A bit more freeing. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to. I think that's the other thing about bringing out the humour these days now, rather than what I felt like I had to do before. Was just like nothing, not everything has to be so serious, and like the world is so stressful and serious now that just having a bit of a playful outlet. And I think that's the thing. I think I always used to also think that I to be taken seriously I had to create serious work, and it's just not the case. Like I don't know, just
Yeah, I
have
keep
fun.
telling. I've got a couple of my next door neighbours, Keith and Viv, lovely couple, both in their mid 70s. Every time I see Keith, he's moaning about Donald Trump, and I keep trying to say to him that he should watch something like Spring Watch as a current affairs program because it'd be much better for his soul than watching actual current affairs programs. There's like a
Definitely.
time and a place for this stuff, isn't there? It doesn't all have to be all like deadly serious.
Exactly. Yeah.
I
It,
wanted to
it,
just dial back to something you casually mentioned where you were like the line pieces were the first ones you did and then
yeah.
you had them in a shop in Islington and they all sold out and you just kind of like you let that go very easily, but I'm interested as to how you went and managed to get them in a shop in Islington straight away.
I think I just went in and said, "Would you be interested in having these?" um, Bowls.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I did have a few. I think at the time I'd had like an exhibition of dogs that I painted portraits in a pub that I worked in, and they were literally like painted on a piece of wood with like. If I think about it now, it'd probably be really popular and it would be something that I would really enjoy. But again, I pulled away thinking it wasn't serious enough or whatever I felt I had to do. And they were literally like bold, like just coloured backgrounds with weird looking dog portraits. And again, that was really so. I think I just went in and thought, I'll go into some shops and see what if anyone's interested in having them, and I did. So yeah,
That's impressive. I think for a lot of people, yeah, because it is as simple as that, really, isn't it? It's as simple as having
yeah,
the nerve and going and doing the thing. But I think for a lot
yeah,
of people, they wouldn't entertain the notion. Whereas, what's the worst that can happen, really, if you ask a local shop to put up your work?
exactly. And I think I'm still not good enough at things like that. I think I still get the fear, and just with anything, it's like, oh well, I won't do that because maybe it wouldn't happen. But you're right. It's like, what is the worst that could happen? And I am fully qualified. It's not like you just gone and chanced it. You spent a long time learning your career, and I remember not having the balls to go into a gallery in Portobello that I was with my ex at the time, and I think I must have had my portfolio on me for some reason or whatever, and he took it in for me, and they straight away went, yeah, and I had my work in there, and I had a giant portrait as you came in the doorway of this gallery called Apart, and it was such a lovely gallery. It's not there anymore. It's now Gale's, but he moved to LA. But I'd love to get back into them. But yeah, I think it is just all about taking the chances and
So let's talk about your recent solo show at the Three Wounds Gallery. In that case, then, if
yeah,
you want to talk about like, there's a load of stuff to
having the
unpick
ball.
here, but if you thought you were in your comfort zone before, how was it having an entire room of your work, an entire gallery?
3 rooms, yeah. It was so lovely, actually. I've been wanting to do that for so many years, and it's just things that have put me off have been like the cost of getting a gallery space, like the area, where would I do it? How would I do it? Like all these sort of things, getting the body of work, which I had, I was like, okay, I've got so much work I constantly make. So I knew that would be fine, but it was so lovely to see everything together and all those different elements. So I had like the big hairy portrait, and then like a giant tufted thing versus like tiny tiny hinge profiles of like dating
Oh
out
yeah.
portraits, um and just showing that scale. And what was absolutely lovely about it, apart from it absolutely killed me putting this show on in many ways, but the feedback and reassurance and kind of like not reassurance but what's the word, like valid, like a validation in a way, like the people
Mm.
that came in said such lovely things and all had lovely reactions, and whether it would be kids who all flock into the window because it's so colourful and it was quite like a fun exhibition, and they all just like the kids loved it, but then you had like the adults coming in and being like, wow, like didn't know you, like you didn't, I don't know, it was just so lovely, the kind of response from it. I don't know what I was,
Not the Martha they were expecting necessarily.
no, I don't know. It just was, yeah, it was just good because it was like I spent so long making and doing all these things behind closed doors, don't really get to see people, don't really get to, it's quite a solo, like you work in a studio on your own, you don't really see people, speak to people, and yeah, Instagram, but like then you get hit by the algorithm rhythms, and you don't get to, you might not get any footfall or people viewing it, and I just assume everyone's already seen these things or whatever, and then you get a lovely feedback, and it
Mm.
makes it all kind of worthwhile. But yeah, it was a lot because I had a lot going on at the time, and I did it all myself, and that you realise is, I mean, in general, being an artist, you're being your own publicist and you're making the work, you're doing the business side of things, you're doing this, like you do so many different elements to try that exhaust you, and then putting on a show and hanging it and transporting the artwork, and oh, how do I do a private view? Oh God, where do I get booze from? Where do I, how do I do? Like there were so many things that I was
Yeah.
stressing about. I didn't sleep for a week. I was in Paris until the night before the job, on another job, and I was literally getting 2 hours sleep a night because I just was lying there worrying. Right, and then I was completely dead for the show. I'd lost my voice. I was basically iller than I'd ever been. I was like, oh my God, this is bad timing, but also great time. It's like grab the opportunity and
Mm.
push yourself, and I'm really glad I did. So it's lovely.
Yeah, it's that real like raw edge thing, isn't it? And there's so many complexity. Even just something as simple as I've put this thing on a wall. What should I put next to this thing? Like
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes it's that, and then like how far apart should they be, and all that really nerdy stuff.
yeah, yeah. Because I hadn't even like typical me. Don't be all, most people have like done all the publicity and done all the planning and worked and done the curation and done. Had I done that? No. I walked in there on the day with the pieces and kind of like, well, that would look nice there. Oh, but maybe that one should get, like basically spent an entire day hanging the show.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I've done that. We had an exhibition because I've opened up this. At the moment, I'm in the process of opening up an actual art gallery in the centre of my town. It's like a 2-floor retail shop. It used to be Burton's and Dorothy Perkins, but prior to that, we took over a single floor unit for a year and set it up as an art space. And we ended up, one of the shows we did was with an academy trust, so it's the work of 15 schools, and we had 270 pieces that started from nursery and went all the way through to A level. And we
oh
hung that
wow,
in 2 days, and I was like taking the lead on that. And that was insane because you were just like, I've got some
oh
like, I mean, the basic principle was kind of friendly chaos with the nursery stuff all the way through to quite a formal arrangement when you got to the A level stuff. And as the years went on, like it would just get a bit more formal and a bit more organized and all those sorts of things. But even just that, just going, okay, we'll put that one there, we'll put that one there. I was like, don't put anything in a line first, and just because
yeah,
sometimes you just flying by the seat of your pants in some ways is the best way to do it. But
Yeah.
to
And
completely
like
contrast
instinct,
that,
I guess, puts it all together in it. Like you just go with what your gut tells
yeah,
you.
or you sort of have to like doing a lot of these things with two elements and just going, oh, there he is, and just knowing that there's a space that doesn't feel bad because that's about as good as you can do. But
Yeah.
then Jack Roberts, who's a friend of mine, JPR Stitch, he recently had an exhibition at the Brampton Museum, and his machine embroidered abstract pieces. He clever bastard. He used lining paper and basically made a template on the floor in his house of the exact wall space, and then sat
Amazing.
there and put his pieces on it and worked out how it would all work, and then just drew little lines, and then took those pieces of paper to the gallery, stuck them on the walls, bish bash bosh, knows exactly where they're going. I was like, why have I never done that in my entire life before?
Yeah.
I was like, that's
I mean, I
genius.
guess, yeah, with all these things, you learn there's so many things I would wish I had done prior to the show and during, but you learn, and that was why I did the first one, I guess.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
always
yeah.
have people going, okay, so when's your next one? Let's keep it going. And I'm like,
That's
what?
cool.
Do that
Yeah.
for a while.
Then because what? It closed what, 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago.
Barely, yeah.
Yeah.
About, yeah.
She's still
Yeah, I'm still
rolling, reeling
recovering.
from it.
I've
Yeah.
only I've only had like 2 days where I haven't done anything because like
Excellent.
2 days off.
Yeah. How did it feel seeing all the pieces, all the different sizes, all the things together in a space? Because I guess that never happened before.
Exactly. I think that's what I really wanted to do, and one of the reasons I wanted the show, and to have it shown in a proper way, because like having them hang around the studio and trying to photograph things doesn't give it the full effect of what the pieces look like. But I felt really proud. I felt like it just showed how much I'd done in the past. Like, I mean, however, I mean, probably over the past 4 years, if I think about how much I've just buried myself in it,
Hmm.
it was really lovely to see. I felt like, hmm, okay, that's good. Felt,
Did you have any people that struggled to comprehend the fact that you were responsible for the whole thing? Because I feel like like
yeah,
we said at the start, the variety in all the
yeah,
different directions, content, form, and all that.
yeah,
I'd
yeah,
imagine people.
definitely some people that came in who I don't know, like just general public people. Um, I did get people going, oh, is this your work? And I say, yeah. And then they'd be like, oh, all of, like all of it. And I'd be like, yeah. And then I'd talk them through it all. And then they just looked kind of like shocked at different, like, right. And what?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
You ever
it's fun.
tempted to go? I have multiple personalities.
Yeah. This one's done by
Yeah, it's the easiest way to
Martha. This one's,
realize it. Um, the other question I wanted to ask you is the Royal Academy Summer Show worth the ag? In that,
uh,
congratulations, you got in
thank you.
it. But I mean,
Yeah.
I know so many people that go through such torment trying to get in it.
Yeah. It
Is
is
it
such
worth it?
if you think about the people that have done it year after year after year and not got in and then got in, I think hats off to you for doing it like that many times. I did it. So what was it? 2000. So not this year's one, last year's
Mm.
one. Um, and it was such a lovely experience. Like, I mean, yes, completely stressful, trying to get the deadline in, trying to get it all done, trying to like, especially with my work being so time consuming, I got really frustrated. Again, I always get frustrated when I see people's pieces that take 2 minutes and they get in and they're like, and I'm like, oh, I killed myself. But that's my fault. And then when I actually did get in, I felt it's such a lovely sort of celebration. They have this day where I didn't realize they have the celebration of the artist day, the
Is that like the
by
varnishing day, or is that it? Is that
yeah,
what that is?
and you
Right.
do this whole procession down to the church with like a full on like full procession, and then they have a lovely like church ceremony and tell you that what you do is worthwhile, and it was really just so lovely. And then went back and had drinks and snacks and canapes, and then it was so lovely to be able to bring people, I don't know, family and friends to like the special little places within the building, and it's got such history. And yeah, I would say definitely worth doing. it is quite like now it's gone up in price even more to just enter, which is always quite a sort of, I don't know, I suppose it's something you have to do. But I just think when
How much is it?
I think, well, actually, I think it's like it's probably because this year I put two pieces in, so it cost about 80 quid to enter, plus the framing to get the pieces, and then they want it, all this sort of side of things. But I guess that's normal. And then this year I had two pieces shortlisted, and I got really excited because I just thought it was going to happen again, and it didn't go in this time. So
Hmm. I see you're a glutton for punishment, though. That was she's like she's been in. I'm not
yeah,
satisfied now. Going
now I've
twice.
got to do it again, haven't I? Yeah, no.
I'm
Um,
sure you're not the only one who feels that way, though.
yeah, I think I just all greed wanted to go and do it all again, but maybe I should have just stepped aside.
Just a massive ego thing. Was there much other textile in there?
There's a lot more now. I think I remember because I've been going to that exhibition since I was, forever, like since it's been going. Um, I it's always been like a favourite of mine, and yet there's that I remember when there never was textile work, or there'd be
Mm.
like one piece, and I'd think, are they going to want me? Are they going to let me in, or whatever? And since then, there's just this huge amount now. Like there's a lot of textile work and embroidery, and the room that I was in was basically like a textile room. Um, so
That's,
there's
but that
actually
does feel a little bit like a sort of this is where we put the special kids.
yeah. Let's just put the people that need therapy in here.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, it was the turmeric room. Like the walls were painted turmeric color, and it was to do with healing. Like, all right, guys, we just like stitching. Um,
And was there a sort of solidarity among those of you in there? Because it's always just a struggle, isn't it? It's really nice to realise that there's more representation of textile arts in that now than there's been for a long time. It feels like a tide might turn eventually. But I've been doing this stuff for oh, best part of nearly 20 years, and the tide is still not turned. So is there sort of
yeah.
solidarity among those of you because you realize you're sort of like pioneering or something?
Um, I don't know actually. I mean, I made some great friends who were all in there, who I met at the show, but they weren't textile artists. But I guess I hadn't really like met the people that I was in that room with.
Right.
But I do think, on the whole, because I love textile exhibitions and I find them like much more interesting than a lot of other ones. I do think there's been a massive change, and there is a huge amount more. It's growing and growing. Um, so that's good to see. I
Mm.
think
And you're
I
based in
absolutely
London, are you?
yeah
Yeah. Because I guess that
yeah
seems to be that's the challenge, isn't it? Is going how do the established galleries in London treat it as not a novelty, perhaps?
yeah yeah. I mean, it's I don't know. There's quite a lot now. I think of I've forgotten. Is it 154? There's an exhibition that's just happened. I've probably got the numbers wrong, which is awful. But an exhibition at Somerset House, which was brilliant, and that was
Right.
a huge, like all levels, textiles, and it was such that really impressive.
Mm.
And then I remember loving In the Black Fantastic at the Hayward Gallery, and that was like Nick Cave sound suits and loads of different types, huge amount of work in there that was fascinating. So, I don't know. I think certainly here, I don't know if it's all around, but in London, I think there's definitely a huge amount more of textile interest.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's good, isn't it? Because if you can make it there, then you can kind of make it anywhere. It bodes well.
yeah,
Again, it's something I'm hoping to lean into with the gallery that we're setting up here. Because I'm like, well, if I'm like
yeah,
organising a gallery, I may as well just lean into the thing I kind of know about. So
yeah,
I think it's quite
exactly.
exciting. So you've done all this, and you're just recovering from the show.
Yeah,
How is your creativity feeling at the moment? You got lots of ideas bubbling under the surface, or are you
yeah.
just going to have a bit of a rest?
I always do, and I'll tell myself that I'll have a break, and then I'm already. I've just been making a series of other. I've actually just I gave myself like 2 days off, and then I was itching to start again. So I've already started on a new series, and yeah, I'm going away this weekend, having a bit of a country break, and but I was already thinking in my head, do I take stuff? Do I need it?
Mhm.
Proper break? But yeah, I've got so many lists of ideas that I just can't get out quick, like not quick enough. Well, in a way, yeah, because the work takes so long. But I need to write it all down, otherwise I forget what I want to make. And I think that's part of once you're in it and you're making and you're creating, that's when even more ideas come, and that's when it sort of flows. And if
Mm.
the fact that I continue to do it all the time means that I'm constantly thinking of the next, like, next thing.
Yeah, and I think what's lovely is because your work is all these different formats and forms, then like you're out of your own way. Like a lot of the time, it feels like people can, you know, their creativity is in a certain format. Like you said, like stitching on plates, whatever it is, making stuff out of X-rays, and so they're like, that must be the thing I'm doing. And for some people, 100%. That's the thing that they're doing. That's what they were put on the planet to do. It feels like with yours, you can just have an idea and you'll give yourself permission to rock on and try it because that's the kind of person you are. It doesn't matter whether it's big or small or whatever. You've just got
Yeah,
this and you just let it outpour.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
pretty healthy,
Just
isn't it?
whatever I feel like in the moment and feel like I want to work with. But I just there's something I can't get enough of with embroidery. It's the feeling of like the like bringing a thread through. I don't know. There's something
Mm.
about the texture of it all, and when you finish it, feeling that work that's gone into it. It's like you've literally woven a story into it, and it's got such a nice texture to it, and the depth and like the thickness shows like how many hours have gone in. You like for me, it's like I feel quite satisfied when I see a piece finished. I don't
Mm.
know.
Yeah,
Feels
yeah. No, it's lovely, isn't it? And then, um, and I guess, I mean, how reflective are you on the subject matter? Because some of the stuff's more meaningful than others. I feel like, say,
Yeah.
the stuff to do with the hinge things, the dating app
Mm.
profiles and stuff like that. Is that something that you did for a laugh, or was that something you did to kind of process
I
something?
think
Or
that was because I was so fed up with being on the app and being like just depressed with what was what was like out there and going, "Do you know what? I just would rather just not at all." And I spent half the time, which I think a lot of people do, just screen grabbing and sending it to people, going almost like, "This is why I'm single. This is not. I'm not doing it because I'm. This is. Would you like
yeah.
literally? Would you?" And then I'd be sending it to people, and we'd all like just have a discussion about it. And thank God I'm off all of those. I gave up. But it was just it's fascinating. Again, it's that human like behavior and what people think, like people's characters and what they choose to put out there and how they work in a relationship. I find all that fascinating. So yeah, sometimes it's things that have either frustrated me or quite prominent in my life at the time, and sometimes it's just visually. I love. I don't think I ever used to love color as much as I do now. Now there's like it's color and texture and warmth and
Mm.
humour, and maybe that's because I'm out the other end. So
Yeah, it could
maybe
be.
that's my seriousness.
It's reminding me. There's a Reddit forum that I follow that's called LinkedIn Lunatics, which is just people on LinkedIn doing stuff. Like, yeah, it's okay. We're sleeping for 72 hours, or like, well, China just working 11 days a week, guys. We don't need to be paid for this. We're in it for the long haul, and you're just like, oh please, oh please,
Yeah, exactly.
those
Yeah.
two. Right, let's pivot then
Okay.
because I am interested in what you listen to while you're working and whether you listen to certain things in certain mediums, and therefore, do you have a favorite album? Do you have a favorite band, etc.?
It was so hard, as I'm sure everyone said to you, that question, because I don't think that like a lot of people these days don't have the patience or don't sit through an album anymore, which is so important because when you think about how an album's created from start to finish, or the story, or the way it's all like linked, or like the creativity in that, I think I do want to start listening to albums again. And I've also got a really bad memory, so trying to think of an album that I'm sure I'll be kicking myself going, damn, that's a really great album. That's a really great album. One thing that just weirdly popped in my head was not weirdly, but whenever I hear Paul Simon Graceland, I'm
Uh,
always really happy, and I could listen to that from start to finish. I don't think there's a bad moment in that album. And I think it's a nostalgia thing because it would be like car journeys with my family. So I think that is quite a good one. It'll always put me in a good mood. But I tend to listen to um, like Spotify or radios, or like something that's going to give me a constant change. Probably like within my work, I don't really stick to one thing. I'm quite eclectic in my music taste. Uh, from really sort of, I don't know, old school, I don't know, like 90s R&B to classical music to folk to something really,
so you're
it
saying you've
doesn't matter.
got Craig David on when you're doing those pink pieces?
No, that I will say no. I can't go that far. Um, yeah, I don't know. I could be listening to, like, say I'm listening to Radio 6. I can absolutely love a section where, like, Sunday morning, and you've got like all this world music that's kind
Mm.
of really fascinating, to then going, oh my god, this is hurting my ears. What the hell are they playing? And I have to quickly switch over because it just sounds like noise. And yeah, I'm kind of just a bit
Yeah.
eclectic.
Well, anytime anyone picks an album that I've got in my record collection, I'm very happy. So thanks for that. Graceland is
Yeah.
gets a fair rotation in our house because, as you say, it's joyful, isn't it? It's just a
It
lovely
is.
thing to listen to.
Yeah.
I also I quite like Saturdays on Six Music because I like Giles Peterson and Jam Supernova and all that kind of
Yeah.
strip of music in the
Yeah.
art. Even
So, yeah.
Huey Morgan, like he just plays
He's
pretty
great as
decent
well. Yeah.
music. Yeah. Do you ever listen to BBC Sounds?
I
You ever
don't
tried
think
it?
I do, but I think I've quite often thought, oh, I need to, because there's been things that either someone's told me about or I've heard
Yeah.
on something. Thought that sounds good.
Because they have all the shows that they play, but then they also have other ones. Like there's one I like listening to that's called the Morning After Mix, and it's just curated playlists of like 2 hours, but kind of mellow, kind of feel good sort of music. But like within the 2 hours, there'll be like nine different genres. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
that
It's
sounds
quite a
good.
nice vibe or whatever. I've been
Yeah,
surprisingly taken by that. Like I listened to that more than I would have expected, really, because it's just
yeah.
okay, that is a good shout. And so it's not like medium specific. Then you don't have certain types of music like Chemical Brothers when you bust into a tufted rug or any of that sort of thing.
uh, no, but I used to listen to like AC/DC when I was stitching, and I found that something like the speed of it. Like, it depends if I'm listening to something. Yeah, it can like speed me up, or it
Mm.
can get me. Yeah,
I
really.
used to find drum and bass was too much for cross stitching because it was too fast, and
The
that
front bit's
basically
as messy as the back.
yeah, and that waltz music is just a hard no in any direction because it's a three
Yeah.
count and it completely throws you off. So I was going to try and get the spin class instructor. I go to spin class. He's always up for musical suggestions, and I was going to see whether we could do a waltz, just to see if everyone would like fall off their bikes or something, because it shouldn't really be possible.
I'd love
So
to see that.
let's do TV, TV,
TV.
TV or films. I mean, it's a bit of blurring the boundaries there. I'd imagine you're
Yeah.
so busy creating that you don't really watch telly. Okay,
Or the opposite, that
or
I
the
like,
opposite is always on.
there's something that's very time consuming, and I'm like, I'm not just going to sit here. I'll either do it to music, or I will put something on. And so sometimes I can look at a piece, and I know there'll be like a weird feeling or a memory, and it's because I've watched a film and there was something happening during that section of that face, or like I've spent so long looking at this, but at the
Tragic
same time there's
waltz.
something quite strange happening. Um, so what, film or
Let's do
TV?
film because that seems fair. You might
Film.
have prepped that.
Um, yeah. Um, Again, this was something I was like, I would always struggle to think of a film. There's so many incredible films out there. Um, but I always, of all my life, said that True Romance was my
Yeah.
favourite, and I think it's it was it was the era in my it was that time in my life. It was the style of it. I was quite I was drawn to it. I think it had a lot of good elements, like you know it yeah, it's an all rounder. I think for me, True Romance,
That's
and
a
so
great show.
many parts of my life, kind of yeah, I wanted to be Alabama.
Yeah,
Um, so I even had blonde short hair at the time. I wore a lot of leopard print. That
went on a
kind of
killing spree, all of that.
definitely, yeah, using a corkscrew. But yeah, I think that was a favourite. But and then I was
Go on.
thinking like Romeo and Juliet, um,
As Lerman. Mm.
because again, it's like that visual like onslaught and music and that time of my life, and it was quite. I was impressionable. It was just like a whole. Yeah, it's a bit culty. It's a bit sort of. It was amazing at the time. So those two are probably I could watch again and again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can see that. So a romance story, but that's got a fair bit of darkness thrown into it for good measure. Actually, people
Exactly.
dying in both of those films. Now I stop and think about it.
Yeah, and I don't, I'm not one for like romance films or like cheese. I need a bit of, yeah,
Mm.
need a bit of something, and I
True
think
Romance is a great show, actually. I always like, is it Val Kilmer, wasn't it? It was always Elvis in the
yeah,
toilet in like, but
they
you're
only
into
showed
it.
him it. He was like, he's sort of, yeah, barely in it, but he's a big part.
Oh, you're a good
But I think
kid.
also like aesthetically, all the kind of, like Mulholland Drive and what am I thinking of, like Reservoir Dogs and films like that. It, the kind of Americana, like um, I can't think of the word, like diner,
But is that? It's like
costume.
American kitsch, but it was like,
Yeah,
but not like cheesy, but then not like sorry America, but not like modern depressed broken America. Is that bit
yeah,
that pre-broken America?
glory, yeah, the good days.
Yeah, but not like the glam of New York or anything, isn't it? It's like the suburbs. It's almost a bit
Yeah,
like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas kind of vibes. You know, you might not have
don't
played
know
that.
that, but
No, God.
I know what you mean. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, it's that I think I'm quite into that now. Funnily enough, the nostalgia of all of that now. I'm into like the classic cars and the palm trees and the kind of old diners where you've got like the reflection of the window on the table and you've got like an old gingham cloth or there's plates of cherry pie and I
Hmm.
don't know. I think that side of things I've probably always glamorized.
I could see you having a sort of 1960s Corvette. You could do
Yeah,
that kind of
be
girl.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah, that
I'm
seems
actually
really
doing
good.
I'm stitching some classic cars at the moment with vintage floral fabric, but then threads in sections and sort of bringing in the
Did you do one
feminine.
ages ago? You've done cars before, haven't you? You do like some
Uh,
like little sports car or a Subaru or something. Am I completely imagining that?
Maybe I haven't forgotten, but I don't think so. I've always loved them, but I don't know if I
Not in
have.
like the Margate thing or anything, because that was lots of little pieces.
No,
Hmm.
no.
I must have made that up then. It's just projecting forward. Knew it was
Maybe I
coming.
have, and I've completely forgotten. But no. Oh no, I did. I stitched one on. I had a hole in my cashmere jumper, so I stitched a vintage car on the front of my jumper,
Maybe that's it.
as you do, just to
But
cover the.
yeah, well, I mean,
Make
that's
it good.
decorative mending with a nice.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Oh, good
Okay.
old George.
And if you're watching telly, does it have to be like garbage telly that you know, don't really have to pay attention to? Sort of.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely can't do subtitle. I used to love subtitled films. Now I'm like, no, never a chance. I'm going to know what's going
Impossible,
on.
isn't it? Impossible. Yeah.
Impossible. I've always looked away. Yeah,
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so then books.
books. Oh, um, if I'm
I mean, it
going back,
can be the last good book you read. I don't want to, I don't want
well,
this to be too
the
much of
last
a struggle.
the last good book I read was Miranda July's All Fours, which I thought was brilliant.
Hmm.
I also absolutely love her because I was in my 20s when I read no one belongs here more than you, and I just find her quite fascinating as an artist and a writer, and
Isn't All
her
Fours the one that makes a lot of women just leave their husbands or something?
probably yes.
I mean,
I
my
don't
wife
think.
recently read it, and now
Oh,
I'm quite nervous.
No, I don't. I don't. Yeah, it's definitely a kind of. I don't think I realised it was all about what it's about, but she's just brilliant, and I think I was quite shocked. I think a lot of people are quite shocked when they read it. They were like, "Oh, I didn't know it's going to go down that tangent," but
Mm.
it's such a good book. And then another book that I was so thrilled I found was The Threads of Life by Claire Hunter.
Yeah, I've got
Never
that.
read that.
Yeah.
It's like the history of the world through the eye of a needle. But literally, like, um, I found it so fascinating with literally stories from around the world and history, but things I never knew about embroidery and tapestry and hidden messages and the meaning behind it all and how people have used it over the years. And I just thought that was quite a beautiful book.
Mm. Does that? How much does that? How much does that diaspora weigh on you as a textile artist? Like, have you ever like because like I've had my moment. I've talked about it before, seeing some like Chinese textiles from like 900 BC and being like, holy crap! Like
Yeah,
this is like a civilization long medium that we're taking part in. Like, does that sit with you? I sort of feel like it probably doesn't. But that's not me saying you're not serious, but almost like
yeah,
you're doing you, and it just happens
yeah,
to be within a context that is centuries old, sort of thing. You're not, it
yeah.
ties in.
I think I'm always fascinated when I find out the meaning behind some cultures and some history of a. It's not just a sort of woman's work where you're sat and like embroidering some hoop. When you hear about the stuff that's in that book and the kind of the history is fantastic. Like that side of it, I don't think it reflect. I don't think what I'm doing is.
Hmm.
I don't know how what
No, no, no.
I'm.
But you could. It's like saying you could be making stuff out of circuit boards, and people would be going, "So, how do you feel about the advent of computing?" And you'd be like, "Well, it's largely irrelevant to what I'm doing.
Yeah,
I just happen to
true.
be using
Yeah,
circuit boards."
yeah. I think we all use it to tell a story, and so there's things that run through the history and that side of things as now. I don't think it's not necessarily relevant in my work, but it's also I don't know, just found it fascinating to read about. I don't know if it reflects me
No,
in my
but I
work.
think you're a good addition to the timeline. Do you know what I mean?
Thank
Like,
you.
there's no harm in that because
Yeah.
yours is. I was just trying to
I
think. Yeah, no, I was trying to think of some analogy that sounded wrong, but in some ways it feels like I don't know, like yours is a sort of a playful blog or something. Do you know what I mean? You're
yeah,
just taking snapshots of the world around you in different formats and just showing them to
yeah.
people.
And in a funny way, I guess when you think about tapestries that have told stories over the years, I'm just thinking whether, a lot of my work now can be mundane things that I've just seen or are literally day to day life or things that we can all relate to. And in a way, in the history of tapestries, that would have been what was going on at the time. It's just
Yeah,
different timelines and different
yeah,
worlds that we're in. But
mm,
we are all like, yeah, just telling a story of what we see around us, I guess.
yeah.
Maybe that's, yeah.
I love the beauty in the mundane. That like for the hang
Yeah.
on, what was it? March, April, May, June. For the 4 months last year when I had some capacity to think about doing an art project, it was very much focused on the history of the mundane. That was in between my old dog dying and my new dog. We got a puppy, and now I haven't got any processing time
No
for
time,
anything creative whatsoever because life is full. But
yeah.
I love the beauty in the mundane. I think that's something that we don't really do enough of because
Yeah.
everyone's like creating these false versions of reality. Whereas like the cross
Mm.
stitch thing that I'm working on is a pixelated shot of like four pieces of cutlery in the bottom of my sink.
Oh, I love that.
But there's something
Yeah.
there, I kind of
Yeah.
interested.
There was an artist who was taking sections, like literally taping a square of like different parts of his kitchen. I wish I could remember his name, but I just remember thinking I quite liked it. It was like things that you wouldn't necessarily think. It's not like the view through a room or a vase on a table. It was like here's like the handle and the corner here where there's like part of the old mug that there's a stain that like it's just things that you see around your kitchen, but you wouldn't like put any emphasis on. And he was
Yeah.
painting these like sections.
I
Yeah,
remember Joetta Maui, who I interviewed. I want to say Needle Exchange 008, but it probably isn't. In fact, definitely isn't. But like she was into like liminal spaces, still is, and you know the way light hitting a surface and then like hitting a surface has gone through a curtain or something, and just the observations on those things, you know, and that's even more of that. That's like stopping and smelling the roses to the nth degree, really. I think
yeah.
there's in that little bits of
I
magic.
was I always get distracted when I'm like, I remember I get quite a lot of light in this room,
I can
and
tell.
when I can tell I basically look like a ghost because everything's wiped out. But when I was tufting, I caught the reflection because the sun was behind me of like the shadow of this giant gun, and then there would be like the thread, and I ended up like getting distracted from what I was actually doing and photographing the wall of these like, threading needles and like the reflections that were happening. So yeah.
It's tricky when you're an omni threat, isn't it? There's art to be
Yeah,
made there.
God. Oh my God, hang on a sec, let me do some photography.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I tell you what, I'm going to spray paint that on a mural now. That'd be brilliant. Okay, a fact that not a lot of people know about Martha Hussey.
Ah, probably loads because I'm quite an introvert. There's probably like loads of things people don't know about me.
We won't talk about the killing spree alluded to earlier, just in case.
No, well, I like to keep that one secret. So, I, I've always hated phone calls. So this is okay because I can
You've
see
done
your
well.
face. But I generally get really. I don't like phone calls with anyone. Like, I mean, unless I'm really comfortable with the person. Like, I'll speak to my mum or my sister or my best, like. But generally, there's something that I've always had since I was little of not being able to see someone's face. I can't see if they're. It's a trust thing, and it's also about reading someone's expressions because people can like put across like that they're acting a certain way, but they could be pulling a face behind your back. And I think that's also coming from having been at a girls' school and growing up with mean girls who,
Right.
you know, I don't know. There's definitely an element of not trusting what someone's saying unless I can sort of check,
Oh,
um, which is weird. I'm trying to get better at it and make phone calls, especially in day
do
to
an
day
art
life.
project about that, perhaps.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe it'll like feel it, bring it out of me. I don't know. It's a very it's an odd one. I think
It's
that's why I
okay.
was really interested in like reading faces and maps and
Yeah.
yeah.
That is a very vulnerable thing to share, so I appreciate you doing that. Do you feel the same way about voice notes?
No, I was thinking about this today, and I was like, actually, I can. Again, I'd only do it if there's someone I know really well. But I quite like the way that you can just cut off when you want to cut off. You don't get stuck in a phone call that you might want to get out of, but you don't know how to get out because you're being really polite. Or I think there's something about voice notes that are quite precise. Gets say what you want to say.
That is true.
Um,
It's quite
so
nice getting to a certain age where you can just say, and I've had enough of this. I mean, you don't do it to your friends, but you go, I've had enough of this conversation now.
yeah, but I like that. I like that. Other, some people that just say, anyway, I've got to go. Like, and I like the way
Yeah.
they do it, but I'm really awful at it. I will let someone rabbit on for 3 hours because I can't bring myself to say, anyway, got to go. Don't want
Yeah.
to talk to you anymore.
Just going into a tunnel. I thought I was
Yeah.
phoning you on your home phone, Martha. That's not the point. Ah, that's
I've
quite
also got another thing people don't, not everyone knows about me. I've got a mannequin of myself,
okay.
and
Please explain.
it's above my wardrobe in pieces that looks like some nasty things happened because I don't know where to put it. But um, Rootstein mannequins made 3 mannequins of me, and they hand paint the face with oils, and they do a wig department that does the wig, so it looks like you. So it's actually quite creepy that there is actually like another me. I
How
could do a
how
Home
does it
Alone.
come to pass that someone chooses to make a mannequin of you?
What's that?
How
Oh,
does it
how?
come to pass? Yeah.
Oh, because I modelled for like 20 odd years. It was a modelling thing.
Were
It was
you
like
part of a series? Were you like
yeah.
a famous model?
Um, Not famous, but I've
I mean,
had
clearly, I haven't
the
heard of you as a model, so clear. I mean, I'm
nah.
not. I'm not big on the gossip, but So yeah, but I mean, 20 years. That's a pretty long career.
25 actually. Yeah,
Wow.
still doing it, but yeah, it's just such a weird. It was such a lovely experience in a weird way because I remember thinking, oh, they're really scraping the barrel. Why am I having a mannequin mate? Like sort of thinking it was going to be plaster cast, and I got to sit in this artist studio, and he created a complete sculpture, like head to toe, sculpted my face bit by bit, and I was literally in awe of this man's like skills. And then they do a fiberglass, version, and then they spray it, and then they do all the,
Bloody hell. So it's like
inside it.
really not just like it looks a bit like you.
No, it's like it's fascinating watching it, and then the fact that we got on really well. We used to just sit and do. I had to go for sittings like you would do life drawing basically, and we just and he built it like bit by bit, and I do. Yeah, I got on really well with him. We just have like tea and biscuits on our breaks and chat and listen to radio and stuff. And then he was like, "I want to give you one." And I remember being like, "This is so amazing to have. Like, it's such a piece, but who has to mannequin of themselves and they're like, got no room for it. I don't know what, but yeah, I
Can it be
can't
a
remember
hat
what
stand?
it.
Like,
What's
could it be
that?
put to practical uses? Could it be in your window waving at passers-by?
I know it'd be good at Christmas. Do the Home Alone. Um,
Yeah, I
If
think
I'm
of it.
ever away, pretend I'm there. But no,
Well, I mean, those were both brilliant. I think they were very two good facts. I don't think I would have guessed in either direction. Do you think the mannequin version of you prefers having phone calls just to bring the
oh,
two
she's always on the phone. I can't
dreadfully,
sleep
yeah,
chatting away on top of my wardrobe.
really confident all the time?
She also loves voice notes. It's really annoying. They're very long and they don't contain anything
You
interesting.
could project onto it, like it could turn out that mannequin's the best version of you, and you'll be like, oh, I hate her.
Yeah,
She's like
jealous of
so
her. I'm
popular.
jealous how she never ages.
She never ages. She's got more Instagram followers than you have.
Yeah, she never has to work out. She
And
never
when she does a piece of work, she literally takes about 4 minutes, puts it out there. Everyone thinks it's marvelous. It's a
yeah.
cup.
God,
It's
I
a
hate
cup
her.
with some sellotape on it.
Yeah.
Martha, thank you for having a needle exchange with me.
Thank you. It's been lovely chatting to you.
That's been good. I love that. I love that you got a man